right, everyone, stand by. So welcome to Awesome Friday. We have 3 awesome sample files for you. Totally free. All you have to do is pay a bunch of money to FileMaker and get FileMaker Pro, and then you are set to go. Or you can pay it to us, and we'll save you some money along the way. Pretty cool. So I just posted the links to Discord, YouTube, and Twitch. Why Discord, YouTube, and Twitch? Because that's where you can be watching the videos live. It's very cool. And this is where we train you on how to make great FileMaker applications. Different days, we have different topics, but every day at 1 o'clock, we just tear it up right here live. And so today we have Jonathan Ray back. Then he created this HTML demo. Really, he took some HTML that was floating somewhere, some JavaScript, and threaded it into FileMaker. It's really quite cool. It's quite good, pretty awesome. So I want to welcome everyone. And then so today's broadcast, we have Jonathan Ray, who has one demo. Then Brudderman, one of the people that is here, he has a sample file that he built. We're going to be showing one of his sample files. And then NetLobster, Mrs. or Ms., depends, I don't know which way it is, Lobster created a sample file for us. It's also pretty cool. And it's good. It's educational. So what we're going to do is we're going to cover probably some initial questions and answers. I got a couple outstanding questions that people have emailed me about. We're going to cover that. Then we're going to cover Brudderman. Then we're going to cover NetLobster. And then we're going to spend the rest of the time talking about Jay's solution probably. First off, upcoming broadcast schedule. If you want to know what we're doing, why we're doing what we're doing, keep in mind that we're broadcasting in high definition every day at 1 o'clock. We don't generally broadcast on Saturdays and Sundays unless I just have a wild hair up my you-know-what and I just want to give you extra training. But normally it's Monday through Friday, 1 o'clock Pacific time. Some of you, it's like late your time. I do appreciate you coming. First off, the upcoming broadcast schedule. If you go to fmtraining.tv, you go up here and you press that, and you come down here, you will get all these tabs right here. Play the live training tab, and this is the upcoming schedule of what's coming up for the next 6 days. This is powered by FileMaker, so we eat our own dog food, right? That's the term. So it's like the Nokia, or it was the no, it was a Samsung vice president, and he was like, "Yeah, Samsung's got the most amazing stuff, blah 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 blah." You know, tweeting this and tweeting that, and then at the bottom it says sent from his iPhone. So that's called not eating your own dog food. You're a lion, cheating weasel. Okay, so if I always the people who say they love FileMaker and do FileMaker and we're FileMaker experts, and then they actually don't use it in real life. And I know who they are. And if they're not watching, but if they were watching, they know that I know that they know who they are, right? So anyway, but we eat our own dog food here. One last thing. Don't forget to support the channel. Even if you've already bought our training, someone you know hasn't watched and want to buy the training, support the channel, I want to just remind you, this broadcast is brought to you by fmtrain.tv, where you can get the greatest FileMaker training available. Without a doubt. We have live training here. We also have on-demand recorded training. This is a complete bundle here. This is the FileMaker only training, okay? And you can get these at a discount. If I have time today, I will put the discount on the thread so you can use that to purchase that. In fact, we have a double deal here for $349. You can get 2 years of our complete bundle for $349, which makes it like $175 a year or something like that. Pretty good deal, because you can't get FileMaker from Claris for that. There's no way. Plus ours comes with training. It's amazing. And then you have my undying love, which is even more amazing. So you always want all that. All right, so let's dive in. So I'm going to come over here. Jonathan, if you want to at some point say something, feel free. We'll start off with Brudderman, okay? Can we start off with Brudderman? We're going to decompress it. Out comes the folder. Comes in here. It's got a little bit of a sample of what comes out. I don't have, I really don't think I have Excel on here, which is kind of too bad. But what you will see, actually, there's actually a zip within a zip. There's the FileMaker file here. You open it up. The whole idea is to go through this. And
now, I have Excel on my computer if we really want to demo that.
You want to demo it? Why don't we flip to yours real quick, Jay?
Yeah, why not?
Why don't you demo it?
Yeah, I downloaded the file from our resident stormtrooper, and so I have it up here.
The Brudderman, not Brudderman. That Elzo, that's TK. Don't confuse my people here. You're in the hood. You can't get confused in the hood.
TK55678 posted the 2 files there on Twitch. That's what I'm
Okay, yeah, no,
Recording
this
through
one's
there.
from Brudderman, is who actually wrote the file. So let me do this.
Oh, okay.
All right, so can you show your screen, Jay? Let's show your
Yep.
screen. So why don't you run through this real quick? I'm going to make you full screen here. So go ahead.
Okay. Well, I haven't actually played with this, so you might need to walk me through it and maybe draw on the screen here.
Well, I don't know. What does it do? So the idea is that you can export, and you can, why don't you go and do an export real quick, right? So do an export. We have
This button
18.
up here?
Well, this is 18 and above, so this is older version. So use this one right here. So press that button right there. So Brudderman, what are we supposed to do here? You're going to help us out or what?
So press the button on the top left here.
No, well, this is for older versions of FileMaker, and the one here is for 18 and later. You should have FileMaker 18 or later up here, right, Jay?
Yep, we're using 19 here.
Yep.
So
So press
over on
that,
the
press
right.
that, press that right button there. Yeah.
Okay.
Press the button. What happens?
That's a good question. I didn't see anything happen, so
Did it go to the export? It probably exported. Why don't we take a look at the script debugger, or watch it?
all right. Yeah. Script debugger. Let's make this a little bit smaller. Export CSV with file operations. Okay. Let's step through this.
Oh, see, look, it's commented. He commented his code. Isn't that great? Look how nice that is.
Yeah. All right. So if, and so this checks for, make sure it's 18 or above. Good.
Okay, goes down here.
Okay.
We set some initial variables, but he did really a nice job commenting this, right?
Yeah.
And so, so he sets the headers right here in the script. See that? Okay, so I'm drawing in two spots. It's confusing people. And I know there's a green line here, folks. Just, hey, Jay, can you stop sharing your screen for a second and then share it again? Just stop sharing. Now share again. See if that'll reset it.
That did. Yeah.
Oh, good. Now it's great. So now if I draw, is it still in two spots? No, it's not. Perfect. We solved the problem. So
Good.
right here, he's setting these variables. And I think these are the custom headers, right? So, Brudderman, you just go yes or no. All we need is yes or no's from you because we don't have time for you to write books, right? So why or yeah, right. So he sets it right here. Then he sets some variables up because when you're going to do an export, you have to set some variables, right? Pretty straightforward. He sets those. Jay, if you want to step through it some more, we'll go right to the beginning.
I'm putting my data viewer there on the left so we can see these variables being set one by one here. See. Yeah. So the path is being set. Oh, it exported on my desktop. That's what it did.
Okay. I like that. I like it when it exports to desktop. You don't have to hunt for it. So.
Okay. So it exports, and then it says an open data file. All right.
You know, Moki, I could try that in the future, but we'd have to work it out, and we'd have to make him a moderator because it's restricted. I mean, I could try to turn it on, but I've done that with people before, and I had people who had screaming kids, barking dogs, and sound like chainsaws running in their living room, and so it was like kind of questionable. So I didn't tell Brudderman we were going to unmic him. Let me see. Can I unmute him? I don't know if it'll let me unmute him. Mute, disable video. Yeah, there's no. Let me see. I could try it, but I just, server, deafen, disconnect, kick. I can kick him. I can kick him out. Yeah, so we're just going to, it's not easy to right click it because we restricted access in here. Yeah, he has no mic. We restrict access to the audio section here in Discord. It's supposed to be like a chat room with a lot of people in the room. But literally I have had, the first time we tried, I had crying babies, chainsaws, people emptying the dishwasher, and I had a toilet flush. So we just don't do that anymore, right? Because I don't want to expose everyone to that. So we're going to go ahead and read from the data file here.
Read data file.
Yeah.
And then set variable combined, the header plus the data. Got it. Set data file. Write to the data file. Close the data file. Okay. Exit. And then I'm going to open up the CSV that it exported. I'm opening it up right now. It's pulling up Excel.
Yeah, you have to share it on the screen here with us.
The Excel file over here.
So the cool part is that we can customize that little line right there to our heart's content. And except Jay moved it, so now it's gone. But yeah, it's this line right here. We could totally customize it, which makes it really awesome, really flexible. So that's a good sample file, totally for you. Feel free to hijack and use that and change it. Do we have any questions about this first? I mean, YouTube suddenly has exploded with activity today, right? Normally it's quiet as hell. The lurkers have all decloaked. It's like when all the Klingon ships decloak at one time, and then you go, damn, we didn't bring enough firepower. So, or those of you who play EVE online, right? Oh, my son used to play EVE online. I'll tell you guys a quick story. You'll love this. So, these online games. So I paid my kid to have a starship. Did I tell you guys this story about the starship? And so I owned a starship in EVE. It's like EVE is like this huge economy and this whole thing. And I owned a starship called Danger Wagon. And my son was supposed to like take care of it, and but he figured out it was older and had a lot of valuable equipment on it, so he sold it off the other day. And I'm like, so you sold my starship without me knowing about it. It's like selling my car in front of my house without my permission. I was very unhappy about that because that's the only starship I had. So anyway, Brudderman says can be copied into a file with no special fields. Yeah. Oh, that's the whole point, because the title here is set in a variable. It's not spec with any special fields. So to move this into your own solution would be very simple to do. Very cool. All right. So Sarkis says, can you give us a brief difference between JavaScript and FileMaker? Okay. All right. That is next week's conversation, right? Today is the Free Friday thing. Well, okay. I will answer the. Okay, back up. Boy, you guys have some wild questions that are all over the place. I'm not sure what happens on Friday and everyone shows up and asks these questions. Omer is asking a question. He's emailing. Sarkis is asking me a question. Calvin Moseyman. Okay, so one of you is asking a question about. Okay, there's FileMaker 19 in market. 19 point, I guess. O, right? V whatever. And then they had 19.1.2, which is their new rolling release. It's only a copy of Pro. They turned on the Claris add-ons. There's 4 or 5 add-ons on it. Add-ons that we've been playing with for a while, and they'd been held up because they were making sure they would work with WebDirect, right? The other thing that came in is they made some adjustments to the JavaScript calls. So we did a video about JavaScript calls in FileMaker. And basically the changes in 19.1, they added a second JavaScript call. And the idea is that when FileMaker calls the web viewer, right? So if this is a question for Sarkis, okay? So I'm answering the question for Sarkis about the new version of FileMaker that just came out. Most of you won't even notice this, but Calvin's updating our demo. We're going to be demoing it probably next week at some point. We're going to kind of slip it in. But basically, FileMaker, it's like when you call a script in FileMaker, one script calls another script. The first script kind of waits for it to complete, then it comes back with a script return. And what happened is that Claris built this JavaScript in 19.0, and a lot of times they build it without really fully thinking about it. It's almost like kind of like a trial feature to see how it goes, and they think it'll be good or popular. Sometimes they build things that no one uses and they eventually get deprecated and removed. Well, they build this thing and they realize A, it's super popular, B, everyone's using it, and C, it's missing a bunch of important options. So they added the options basically that allow the script that you're running in FileMaker, it calls JavaScript in the web viewer to get going. The script that's still in FileMaker can continue to run, it can wait, it can terminate, it can do 3 or 4 different things. And so there's options as to how that script waits. That's the short version of what's in 19. So Sarkis, that is the answer to your question. So what the FileMaker script engine it does when you call the JavaScript, it can terminate, it can wait. There's about 3, I think there's 5 different options for it. They'd be in the documentation. We will be covering that next week, thereabouts. Okay, I'm sure it's already probably someone covered it online, but in terms of us covering it, these broadcasts are booked out about 2 weeks in advance. Claris doesn't really advance notify us in a reasonable timeline of when they're going to ship, so we can't really support their live shipping product. When they do product releases, we don't have the date, therefore we can't set the schedule, so it kind of fits in where it fits. So that's the way that works for those of you wondering about that. So I'm going to stay. That's the one-off topic thing we're going to do. Then we're going to stay on topic over here. Jay, I'm going to jump back to you. There's any other questions here that we had about this one's actually pretty straightforward and pretty simple.
Do you want me to comment here? I have one comment on the script just to point out to folks. Where is it? On the export, where is it? Save. Just trying to find it. One second. Well, guess it's not going to let me. The file type is XML. I thought that was interesting, and maybe Brudderman can comment as to why that's XML, because I almost never use XML. It's kind of surprising to see that. I'm sure he's doing that for a reason, and so I was wondering on that one.
Good one there. Question: are the new add-ons commonly buggy, or is it just me? John Tormond Norland, question about the add-ons in 19. Real quick, so once again, we're kind of back to splitting the conversation. So kind of like an open Q&A day amongst everything else. Hey, Jay, if you want to open the next sample file and look at that one while I'm talking, that'd be great. So the add-ons are brand new, one. Two, the people who are building them, there really has never been any official documentation on the add-ons officially. Maybe Claris will finally post some official stuff on it, but it's mostly been like one advanced developer discovering something, then building it. Then someone else takes his information, recycles it, then discovers something else that's a little better, and then we took our turn on that once or twice, kind of progressing the conversation forward. There's not been really great conversation from Claris on it. I guess Claris kind of expects that when you're a senior developer, you just should get this stuff through osmosis and discover it on your own, and there's no real documentation for it. I'm not a big giant fan of that personally. So that's just me on my side. Yeah. Okay, so that's me on my side. So the add-on modules are a little sketch because people have been learning how they work. Also, I think there's this general estimation that if you just drag an add-on module on your computer, it magically works perfectly for you, like you drag and drop it. And once again, we're going to look at these and play with them, but they're not going to solve a problem. So at any rate, we have a challenge with that. Let's see. So I got people beating on my door. I don't know what's going on. Hang on one second. Jay, can you want to demo this real quick?
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to look at this. All I'm seeing is, this screen here. So someone might want to walk me through that. Boss, if you have gone through this file already, you might have a better idea of what this does than I do. I can just take a look real quick. So it looks like it's one layout. Let's see here. Yep, one layout. And I think the point here, so there's a couple different scripts. There's one that is set to on open, so when the file opens. One that sets to when the record loads. One for the pin, and one for the pop-up. Okay, so let's just take a look here. So I have this tab, okay. And this tab, I think by eyeing it, I think these two tabs are identical minus one is a slider versus one being a tab here. And so if I understand this right, the buttons would work identically, but the tabs look a little bit different, I think. Okay. And then here, this would operate a different script. Let's open up the debugger and just kind of take a look. So if I click, say, tab 2, then we get a script that runs. All right. So, boss, if you're back, I'm a little bit lost here.
No, this is pretty slick, right? Going closer.
Okay, yeah, maybe you can demo it better. I can stop
well,
sharing
basically,
my screen.
well, no, you go ahead and show it. That's fine.
Oh,
so
okay.
the idea is that when people leave panels, the panels reset to their defaults. The goal is to put the panels back to where things were, right? And so what happens is, I'm going to go ahead and jump onto my screen real quick. I'm going to go ahead and hide that. And so it's actually pretty slick what goes on here. Let me see if I can get rid of that. I'm going to come over to this one. I'm going to go to the lobster one right here. Pretty neat stuff. And she's over here typing, so you can see multiple tabs at the same layout. Right, exactly. So the idea is that, and I actually made a modification of this file slightly. Whoop, I called Jay. All right, sorry, Jay. Whoop, sorry. I hung up on Jay. So,
no problem.
yeah, so I made a modification file, but the idea is that normally, if you're in layout mode, and you go in here and you say, normally the default tab is going to be, default tab is number 1, right? Number 1. So you say, okay, you go to browse mode, and you go to number 1, and then the idea though is that you can actually set it to change based upon a variable what tab the person was on, or maybe whatever logic you want, you can have it default to the tab that you want it to be in. And so what's interesting about this is that you could actually specify that a popover is visible or not, but only one popover can be at a time. So you could have a bunch of popovers. If the person leaves the screen, then comes back, you kind of want it to go back to where it was. And so what I did is that if I flip forward here on a record, there'll be a delay, and then it pops the dialog. And the way that NetLobster had it was that it would pop immediately, and really it's a 1 second delay. It could be a half-second delay. It almost needs to be like this animation, which would be better for it to animate open in a more slow way. Because what happens is if you just jump to it and it's there, right? If you just jump to it and it's there, it may not be obvious that it spawned from a location. It's one of those things you have to play with a little bit. See how that animates up like that, animates up like that. And so if you jump to a layout and it was just open, right? See how it just popped right there? It really would be an ideal world. You would have it animate open and bring you back that spot. But the whole thing is on the premise of that on-record load. So there's an on-record load script trigger. So every time this script you flip a record here, it runs a script on record load. If I go to layout mode, I go to layouts, I go layout setup, I go to script triggers right here. I can zoom in a little bit. I know the Discord people can't see this. I'm sorry about that. But you have on record load. It runs this script called on record load. The name of the script happens to match, okay, over here, happens to match the trigger name. That doesn't have to be that way. This name could be anything, right? But it makes it very simple this way. So if I come back over here to script workspaces, it's kind of a conversation that came back from, I think Nick was talking about stuff, but you have on record load, and what it does is it says, oh, go to this object and go to this panel, whatever the default is, and do this and do this and do this, and then pop an object on the pop-up if it was edited. And I put this 1 second delay in here. I guess you could make it like, 0.5 or something, right? And my goal was not to really slow things down as it was to try to like indicate to the person of where the pop-up is coming from, right? So if I flip forward here, right, you see that's a little bit of delay. So conversations here, yeah, so you can have a default, right? The idea is that you're on 2, you're on 3. You can mark one of these as the default ones. That makes sense? So the idea is, so then if you come back to record number 1, this one will be number 1, right? So the idea is you could be on a different slide here. Say we want this, we're on record 1, but we want to default to yellow would be our default right here, okay? And so if I go back to record 2, I come back to record 1, right? It should be on the default, which is number 1, but it jumped here automatically for us because of the on-record load. So it's an educational sample file that teaches you about on-record loading and then also kind of restoring visually certain elements, if that makes sense, okay? NetLobster, the user can hit the button on the panel they want the default. It resets when the file is opened. Okay, yeah, you can reset, although you could save it more longer term if you wanted to. It's just an idea. It's really great. She did a great job, built a sample file. I love things like this. They're educational. The goal is not to overteach you too much. Like, so a lot of times starting point, our CRM is too much. I would love to take our CRM. Nick always has dreams of putting more crap into it, and I want to like thin it out, make it like a very simple one. I'm inclined almost to pull a lot of it out and have a really light one that's more educational. But I love little educational files that teach you 1 or 2 things, right? They don't try to throw everything at you. So very nice, very nice. Both Brudderman and NetLobster did a great job with that. There is a custom function to support multiple tabs on the layout. There is. Okay, I did not know about that. If I go to Manage, I go to Custom Functions. There it is right there. Okay, so I would, there's another piece in here to tear this apart. You could spend more time on this. Oh, Kevin Frank. Kevin Frank is an interesting guy. I would say probably one of the most prolific bloggers, consistent. And when I say consistent, I mean over the years, right? He was blogging stuff the other day, and he takes a vacation, disappears. He was one of the big proponents of Anchor Buoy. And then because he's a senior guy and he doesn't do a ton of training, in my opinion, he came out with this thing where he was anti-Anchor Buoy, right? And I was really laughing because, you know, if you really believe in something and then next week you change your mind, then why'd you change your mind? What are the reasons for that? A lot of times I have developers that like to move the furniture and they do things differently just because they don't want to be bored. I picked things specifically, like these files are fairly straightforward in understanding, so they're good training tools. But this right here, I want to say a lot about Kevin Frank, great guy. And so a lot of the documentation we do on Anchor Buoy originates from him, and his originated from the guy who first kind of created the idea. But I'm kind of at this point the prolific carrier of the Anchor Buoy because of all the videos and stuff we do. I've kind of taken that torch up, or that flag up, and I'm the one running through the field holding the Anchor Buoy flag up. So yeah, pretty good. All right, so that's samples 1 and 2. We've answered questions along the way. I'm going to dive in now to the deeper question. Wally, Omer, directly question, email, CSV. Yep, good. All right, I think we're ready for the last sample file. This one's going to blow your brains. Always blow your brains up. All right, so Jay, are you ready to do this? Are you ready to?
All right. Yep.
What we have, this is the file. This looks like a master detail portal. Is that correct?
Yep. Yep.
And
that's native FileMaker. That's,
yeah. And then what is this? What is this?
Okay, so here's what is native FileMaker stuff. This portal with the little filter thingy. This is a FileMaker field. That's a FileMaker checkbox. Down here, this stuff is a web viewer. This all is a web viewer, including this button here. Okay, the reason that we're here, let me back up for a second and explain why we're even doing this. When you enter into a field, a FileMaker field, right, they do give you some formatting options, like that's the extent of it right there. And you can do, format and that type of thing. But most of the things you can do in an editor like Microsoft Word or something, where you can do lists and you can do bullet points and indents and insert tables and everything else, you can't do in a FileMaker field. It's not designed to do that. But if you've ever had to build a database or use a database where you're typing and typing and typing, pages of copy, and you want to do something more than what FileMaker allows, you need to do it in a web viewer, and that's what we're doing here. So if I go into layout mode, this whole big box is a web viewer. It's essentially a web page, and over here, this is a web page too. Okay, so this sample file allows you to treat text and edit it like you would with an HTML editor on some website. This should look pretty familiar to you, whether you've used something like this on a website before or you've used Microsoft Word, right? I mean, it's the same type of concept.
I got a question. Is this tiny, I wouldn't say tiny mice, but tiny mace, or what is, if I say those words that bell, where did you get this code right here for this?
So this part right here, and let's be clear that it starts with powered
by Tiny right there.
Thing.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, this tagging thing is a different component that I'm going to talk about, but the part below that is called Tiny MCE. I'm not even quite sure what that stands for. It's one of several editors that you could use. So there's other ones out there. One is called Quill, but this is, I think, the most common editor on the web, called TinyMCE, and they have a whole bunch of options.
Okay, cool. Because someone
Okay.
else goes, hey, that looks like Tiny whatever MCE, and I was not familiar with that editor, so that's fine. Okay, cool. So Moki says, yep, I use this all the time, and he says it's pretty solid. That's good. Cool. So keep going,
Okay.
Jay. Tell us about why. I mean, talk about this. What is the deal?
Okay. So one of the big things that FileMaker cannot do in a field is insert tables. So this right here, this is a table, and you can right a line, you can left a line, you can highlight, you can make the background color, etc. You can make listed items, right? All things you can't do natively in FileMaker. Alignment, all that type of thing. You can do lots and lots of stuff. So it's valuable and helpful to be able to, if you need, be able to have an editor like this and save your changes. So if I come here, and like this one here is an invoice, right? I mean, it's a full-blown
That's a
invoice
whole
template.
invoice in a web viewer, right? Which, of course, before people are going to say, well, how do I print it? How do I do this? And how do I do that? And I think a separate probably conversation, but
Sure, but I
that's
mean, the fact that you can write it up is pretty neat.
okay. So Moki says he uses it for emails with formatting. I was thinking about that. I was thinking that
Yeah.
doing emails with formatting would be the way to go. Then you'd have to take that block and push it into your email. So I guess it's what, HTML or CSS, or what is that?
Yeah, so that segues into our next question. Let's say I do a change here, and I say, hello, Richard, okay? And I hit Save Changes. That Save Changes button just ran a FileMaker script and saved the changes. This is HTML in a FileMaker field. And here's what I mean by that. If I come over here to an editor, right, and here's a HTML page, and I paste in the contents of my field there, and then I open it up. Let's do that here, and I open it up in a web browser.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm going to get. That is HTML.
Okay.
And so, good.
Well, go. So Nick, of course, asked the immediate question: is can I take fields out of FileMaker and insert them in here? Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the neat thing here is
So
that
so you're saying that you know something that Nick doesn't? Is that what I'm hearing right here? Uh,
no, he's thinking along the same lines I am, and I think he's pitching me a softball to show how to do
so
something.
Nick is an expert. He's an expert at this. Okay, never mind. Nick, shut
Yeah,
up.
I think he already knows. So if
Oh,
I go into layout mode, you see on my web viewer, what I could do is if I wanted to insert a FileMaker field, let's just do this real quick, okay? I'm making a substitution. So if I say something like RCC, that's my placeholder, okay? Then over here, I can, I don't know, put the ID in,
that's me
okay?
clapping. That's pretty damn awesome. That's pretty
So if I
good.
go into browse mode, check this out. If I go something like dot, 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 see, I believe this will work, okay? And I hit save changes. Haha, there we go.
Oh, you're such a show off. Okay.
Right? So you can do replacements
Now
to
I have
get
to put this
FileMaker data
into.
in
We
there.
got to put this into starting point. Except that makes starting point more complicated. So.
No.
Yeah.
This is kind of one of those as you need it moments, right?
Yeah, no doubt. This is pretty cool.
Okay, so that's just one part, and I've seen people do this before with other editors, but here it is for free, and you can play around with it. The other thing that you can do, what I've put up here, is a tagging system. Okay, so that's one thing that's not easily done in FileMaker, is to be able just to add tags to a particular record. You've seen this a lot on websites where a product is maybe tagged as, say you're buying a laptop from Apple and it has a tag on it, laptop, Apple, dual core, whatever, and it has all these different tags related to it, different categories. So if I wanted to add a tag, and let's call template, there's a suggestion for me there. I can add as many tags as I want um, to my record there. And of course, we have a little bug, I guess. But you can add all the tags you want, and then down at the bottom, you can filter your records, your found set, by the tags that are attached to them, right? So we have all three of these have different tags. One like cover letter, etc. And then I can drill down into all of them that have, for instance, active. And there you go. So it's another way of drilling down and finding different records based on a tagging system. Okay. So what I did to get this is I had this idea in my mind. It'd be neat if I could have a database of notes that I use commonly, and I could add tags to them. So I came up with a problem, and I researched online, is there a JavaScript library that allows me to add tags easily? And of course there is, and it's called Tagify. And basically, here's what I wanted, and here is the code, basic HTML, and here's my JavaScript. You copy and paste. That's kind of it. And so in my settings, it is pretty easy, copy and pasting. This looks very complicated, and I couldn't write this from scratch probably, but I can copy and paste the code that they give me, and then you hook in your FileMaker scripts, right? If I add a tag, it's calling a FileMaker script. If I change one, it's calling a FileMaker script, and so forth, using that JavaScript stuff.
Okay, so let me change gears slightly here, because one of you folks pointed this out to me, and of course, I'm always learning. Like, I do so much; it's always hard to keep in track of everything. So this is from a company called Tiny
MCE.
Cloud. No, it's Tiny. The company is Tiny.cloud.
Right here, Tiny.cloud is
yeah.
the website.
Okay. Okay, so I'm on the page. I'm on my screen here, Jay. Looking at this real quick, and so the product you did is the Tiny MCE. So is that a free thing? I guess it's their free offering. Is that what this is?
Right. Yeah, they have a default or basic, not install, but version of it. And then if you want to add all sorts of fancy different things, you can pay for an upgraded version, and you can add more stuff. So they call them plugins that you can add. You see 50 plus plugins, they say. So if you want the plugins, then you pay money. If you want the default thing, which is good enough.
Okay, so they have an accessibility checker, an advanced code editor, a case change, not sure what that, app mention, whatever, checklist, format painter. So we're using this one thing, which is free, but then they have all these other little widgets here that you could probably glue into FileMaker, right? Power paste, spell check, advanced tables, Moxie manager.
Yeah, and one thing that I thought was neat that I haven't explored, but it's possible, is you could potentially insert pictures and graphics into the editor, just like you could in Word. And that would be pretty neat.
Well, you could press the button there and try it if you want to do that. I mean, take a picture.
No, it's not hooked up. I've tried that before.
Okay.
But potentially you could. Okay. I just haven't gone.
All right, so I'm looking at the comments and questions here. There's babbling back and forth on Discord. For those of you who want to be with the cool kids, they're all here on Discord. Power Point Blank University. I'm here, bro. Roger that, Big Daddy. All you folks there, appreciate on YouTube. There's also kind of the recurring people that are here a lot coming to us on Discord. If you want to join on Discord, that's fine. Watch the broadcast. It's pretty neat to see that. Let me see if I can go here and see if I can. Where's the server invite people? Yeah, I'm going to grab the server invite. So if you want to come to Discord, and because the conversations are ongoing and oh yeah, so TK just posted it there too. But there's a whole lot of people on here in Discord, like probably 20 people, 20, 30 people here. And then there's probably quite a few on YouTube and Twitch as well. Pretty cool. So, yeah, there it is. So let me see. Use your marketing emails, display blocks, images, things like that. Yeah, Oregon Dean says only mess with the body, but there are scripts to add, email wrappers, attachments, and variables. Yeah, there's a lot here on this capability of this thing. This is pretty neat stuff. So questions about this? It's been a couple of weeks, but I'm pulling out my credit card again. All right, there you go. So, although to be honest with you, I mean this one is free right here. This is the free one, right? It's kind of like fullcalendar.io. That's the calendar we use. They have that free calendar that's really awesome that people use, and then they can buy more upgraded variants or versions of that, right? So,
right, and even with this, it gives you a basic template from which to work. But I'm sure when people use this, they'd want to do some sort of modification to it. I'm sure if I use this day in and day out, I'd want to modify it further. But it's it's pretty close to what someone might need.
yeah, Oregon Dean just said, I'm pulling out my credit card again, and goes, oh, wait a minute. I said, well, the price is free, and he goes, yeah, that matches the amount of credit I have on my credit card. So yeah, no, we all know how that goes.
Now I want to say this, that this is one example where JavaScript does come in handy. There are other examples where you can do something with JavaScript, but it doesn't mean that you should, right? There's this saying, just because something is permissible doesn't mean it's advisable, right? But this is one of those examples that you can do it. You can do it, and it's helpful.
Yeah, that's like that time I was doing 114 in the desert in my minivan, and I passed a cop. It was permissible, but then he wasn't very happy with me, so I got a ticket. So I passed him, then he passed me, and then we had a chat. So anyway, yeah, so cool. But remember, you must save the trigger.js and send it back to FileMaker. Right, yeah, there has to be some sort of process for that. So Jonathan, does this require 19? Is this a 19 requires a 19 question mark?
Let me drop into layout mode and show you something here. So if I double click on this web viewer, an addition that comes with 19 is this little checkbox, allow JavaScript to perform FileMaker scripts. So yes, it would require 19. It uses that one perform JavaScript.
And that one perform JavaScript function is the one there's a second one now in the new update of 19.1.2, which has additional options on it. And we will be covering that, but that's where they've enhanced a little bit. Now, right about now, I'm going to get people complaining, well, I literally have people complain, oh, I'm using FileMaker 12, and I want to use this with FileMaker 12, okay?
Yeah, and I think you can use it all the way till whenever the FMP protocol came out. I think it was in 14 or something like that. You could replace that bit of code with the FMP protocol method, and it would still work. This right here is what we're talking about, this little line of code there. And so you could replace this with
the URL protocol, yeah.
Yeah, the URL protocol.
The URL protocol results in tech support. Our tech support for our calendar kit at least went down by half as soon as we have the people using 19. The URL protocol is great until it's not great.
And if you want an example of how to do the FMP protocol versus FileMaker.perform script, I did a live stream about a week or so ago on the Google Charts and incorporating a JavaScript library, and you can find that sample code in there. There's an example how to do it pre-19, an example how to do it 19 and above, I guess.
All right, well, there we go. So that's your free Friday stuff, right? And Jay, you have anything else for us?
Nope, that's it. I mean, I don't want to get into the nitty gritty of all the JavaScript and HTML and how it works. It's just, there you go, and you can take it apart and figure it out.
So Chip Johnson's asking, can we do an open Q&A day? I guess we could. We could do that. We could probably pivot to that next week. We have another free Friday thing, but if we don't have anything queued up for that, we could pivot this into a Q&A day. So I'm much more inclined to do a Q&A on a Friday, a Dead Bird Friday, those of you wondering about that. So yep. You love open Q&A? Yeah, well, if we're going to do Q&A, Nick, you have to be here and answer questions along with Jay. I need help. I can't have to go. It's like I'm at the police. We're going to a bank robbery with 20 bad guys, and I'm going in by myself. It's like, negative. We need backup. I need backup. Nick and Jake, I need backup. So yeah, we don't go in by ourselves. I appreciate everyone here, a ton of you, all the lurkers, welcome as well. See you next Monday. And we'll be doing a lot more this weekend. Well, we'll be working this weekend, but we won't be broadcasting till Monday at 1 o'clock. We'll be picking up the conversation, for those of you who haven't seen this, on error trapping. It's basically this idea of, as you write scripts, having the errors and the scripts write to a text file. Kind of cool. It's a new feature that was really part of 18. Really part of Anchor 18. All right, everyone. Catch you tomorrow. Monday.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Monday.
And the guys just stepped up the whole way. Calm, cool, collected. The quarterback, great read, good patience. More importantly, great job up front protecting this quarterback to give you a chance. And that's all you can ask for.
Trying to rally down 10. 9:25 to go here in the fourth. Short motion by Amendola from the left. Brady takes the shotgun snap. Stands in, throws it left for Amendola. Reaches up and snacks a high throw and lands inside the 10. Rolling to the 9. Ball slightly behind him, but Danny makes the grab.